What's going on, my Journey family? This is Pastor Curtis back at you for the fourth episode of Wisdom on Wednesdays. It is a joy to be back with you. And as we see, man, you guys are enjoying this content. And our desire in all of this is to, as we walk through the book of Proverbs in the series Truth Unraveled, what we want to do is take a next step on this midweek time and live out wisdom. We don't want to just think wise lives. We want to live out wisdom. And this week, we're looking at integrity, all right? Integrity. Now, integrity, how are we defining integrity, man? Integrity is this. It's living consistently in all circumstances at all costs, consistently. That your words are consistent with your actions, which are consistent with your values, which are consistent with the words and the ways of Jesus Christ. So living consistently in all circumstances, private, public, with all people, and at all costs. And that's a big one, because many of us have integrity when it's easy and doesn't cost us anything. But true integrity is when everything is on the line and you still choose the right way, a consistent way. That is integrity. So what does that look like to live a life of integrity? Well, the overall goal this week is to fight for integrity. Fight. And I'm using that word fight for a reason, because it's going to take energy. One of the things that we see in the book of Proverbs is you don't just arrive at a wise life. It takes investment and energy. So let's fight for integrity. How do we fight? First, decide. Every fight starts with a decision to get into the fight, a decision to remove all excuses. No more what had happened was, no more of that. No more being on the fence. We know we all have areas that we give ourselves excuses and we live on the fence. No more of that. Like, practice self-confrontation, to practice the art of looking at yourself and telling yourself about the areas and the gaps that are in you where you lack integrity, and having the courage not just to look at it, but to do something about it. Decide. Second, examine. Man, the Puritan John Owen says, labor to know yourself. Labor. We know what that means. It's work. It's energy. It's effort. We don't drift towards integrity. We don't passively get there. We examine and we work. So how do we examine? Well, I got a list of questions that I want you to answer. Just take time to think about and answer honestly. And at the end of this, I want you to identify one thing and dive into that. So here are questions I want you to ponder upon and answer. First, are you the same person when you are with different people? Second, are you the same person in public as you are in private? Like the great coach John Wooden says that the true test of a man's character is what he does when no one is watching. Who are you when no one is watching? Next, are you the same person on social media as you are in real life? Like, is your world a bunch of Snapchat filters, right? Or what about your profile pic? Like, is that consistent with who you are? Let's close the gap between your social media life and your real life. Where are you inconsistent with your words? Where do you tend to lie or exaggerate to protect and defend your image? Where are you inconsistent with your say-do ratio, right? Say-do ratio is say what you're going to do and do what you say. Where are you inconsistent? Asked another way, where are you unreliable? Where and to whom are you most unreliable? Your children, your spouse, your friends, your coworkers? Where is that? And then lastly, are you accountable to one person for what you think, you say, and you do? Going back to episode 1, we talked about, man, wisdom is done in relationship. Is there a friend, a mentor that's walking with you through life, helping you to live a life of integrity? Answer these questions, pick one, and dive in. Now, lastly, we don't just examine, we have to experience. Now, we're experiencing God's grace. This is important, because if you're like me, you take this quiz, man, you're failing at most of these. There are gaps in all of our lives. How do we have the courage to keep facing the gaps in our lives, the failures and the shame in our lives? Well, it's experiencing God's grace. It's waking up every day and putting our eyes back on what's available to us through Jesus Christ on the cross. It's experiencing His forgiveness and experiencing His grace. That is where we find the courage. That is where we find the strength to keep going and living lives of integrity. What does this look like? On a regular basis, daily, weekly, pick a verse. Just start with one verse. Pick a verse, Ponder upon it. I would even challenge you to even memorize it. Pick a verse, think about it, and experience God's forgiveness and grace through that verse. You don't know where to start. Here's a couple verses for you to consider. Psalm 103:12. Or how about Isaiah 118? Or one of my favorites, Isaiah 43:25. Man, there's a plethora of verses you can start with, but start somewhere. Put your eyes on Christ. That's the only way you're going to find the courage to live a life of integrity. So let's recap. First, decide. Decide to get into the fight. Second, examine your life. And third, experience God's grace. What is one thing you're going to do to live a life of integrity? Get into the ring and let's fight for it. See you next week.